Today we're back in my 2023 Honda Civic Type R, and today's video is all about that front resonator delete that is meant to replicate the sound of the new 23 Integra Type S. As many of you know, the Type R and the Type S have a slight exhaust difference, and it sounds a lot better than the Type R does. Type R just kind of sounds like a big vacuum cleaner. MRT has developed a resonator delete kit for this car. That's what's installed on this. Let's start this up. Right now I have the valve closed, so the valve is stock in this Type R, and I'll show you guys how to disable that active exhaust valve and leave it open all the time. We'll do that in the second half of the video. But for now, this is a pretty mild upgrade with the valve closed. The valve will open and close in the Type R dependent on throttle position and somewhat drive mode. In the Type S, it's dependent on drive mode, which is actually kind of nicer. But let's start this up. I'll be quiet so you guys can hear that, and we'll get started with the video. So just a little bit more volume than stock with this resonator delete. It's subtle. With the valve open, you can really tell the difference. But again, second half of the video, we'll show you guys that. There are two resonators in this Type R before the rear muffler system. So there's a smaller one right about here, and then a larger, longer one here. A lot of people have deleted the larger, longer one. It's introduced a little bit of drone. It's a much louder setup. Paired with the closed exhaust valve, it actually might sound pretty good, but this is just the small resonator. I'll show you guys that in a diagram right now so you can see what's been taken out underneath the car. Out back, just a little bit more volume at idle, but you can see that valve is closed and all the sound is coming through those two mufflers. So it's a little bit more muted, a little bit quieter. The only time you'll be able to hear the upgrade with the valve in its stock setup is at higher RPMs. So at idle and at lower revs, the valve doesn't open. Just got the Type R detailed. It looks really good. Finally cleaned up. It was pretty clean from the factory. A couple little paint defects here and there, but overall, it just looks awesome. Okay, let's go for a drive. There is zero drone with this setup in stock form. And there's zero drone with the resonator delete with the valve in kind of its default mode. Off throttle, you get a little bit more volume at higher revs. But honestly, when cruising around town, this thing is pretty quiet still. I do detect a little bit more blow-off valve noise off throttle. You kind of hear it there. It's subtle. Let's do a quick lap, and then we will put the valve in its open position. So right now I'm in individual mode. These are my settings. Engines in +R, steering's in comfort, suspension's in comfort, engine sounds in +R, rev match is in sport, and gauge is in +R. We have rev matching turned off, actually. So right now, on throttle, that exhaust valve is opening, off throttle it's closing. So as the revs are dropping off throttle, you're not going to get as much volume out of the exhaust as we will later. All right, things are warmed up pretty well. You can hear this opened up. Actually sounds pretty good. It's no Elantra N, but at highway speeds, completely quiet, no drone, just tire noise from these PS4S's. I am noticing just a little bit more responsiveness, maybe a bit more low down torque from this car with that Resonator delete. This does open up the exhaust system just a little bit, and I can feel it. Okay, so this is boring. You can't really tell that much of a difference, honestly. The real difference comes when you open up that exhaust valve, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now. Okay, so here we are. We're in a parking lot. We're going to turn the car off, put us into first gear, pop the hood, and we're going to need to access the fuse box. So I have a pretty detailed write-up of how to do this in the Civic XI forums, but I'll show you guys what to do here real quick. So just pop this panel off. Here's your little fuse grabber tool. You're going to want to pull off this top left 7.5 amp fuse. You can see there it says active exhaust valve. So get that on there, pull it out, and then we're going to hold on to that, don't drop it. We're going to go into the car. You can see now the exhaust valve is still closed, as it should be when it's parked. We're going to cycle the ignition on, turn it off, then we're going to put the fuse back in, and that is going to open up the valve. There it is, it's open. And now you can pull that fuse and it'll stay in the open position. All right, so pull fuse, ignition on, ignition off, put fuse back in, pull fuse out, and there's a nice little place to store it right in there. Thank you, Honda, for making this very easy, but also, why couldn't you just make this relative to drive modes so we don't have to go through this process? It should be like the Integra Type S. That's okay. All right, so we're going to put this box back on here. And now we have a much more open and free-flowing exhaust. And you guys are going to hear it. So I'll be quiet. And we'll even start this up with the door open. Pretty big difference. All right, so now this actually sounds pretty good. Nice low rumble at idle. Exhaust valve is open, it's staying that way. This sounds like a Civic Type R should sound. Let's go for a drive. So I have the rear cargo area covered. I also have a spare tire in this car, and that does absorb some sound, some drone. There is a bit of drone around 2,000 RPM. We're going to switch to comfort mode so you guys can see what revs we're at. But otherwise, this sounds awesome. drone, taking it through the RPMs. Fresh pavement here. Like I said, zero drone on the highway. Pretty much sounds stock at speed. A little bit more of a tone maybe, but it's barely perceivable. And then at higher revs, there's definitely more exhaust noise. A little bit louder. Sounds pretty good in my opinion. Address the suspension here at some point too. I've put that back to stock, and joy of joys, the Integra Type S adaptive damper module plugs right into the Type R and gives you just an extra level of comfort in comfort mode. So it kind of adopts the Type S's suspension settings, where comfort is nice and soft. It's a really good all-around setting. Sport is about what comfort is here now, and then plus R turns into what sport is in this. Really glad to see that that's a possible mod. The only problem is that part is back ordered. We're gonna have to wait patiently for that. See if we can hear the exhaust here. It's just all a little bit louder, but I think it's a very nice balance. Let's head into town. Let's see what it sounds like through some neighborhood streets. Does it fit the bill? M2 behind us. Probably the same press car we drove last week. It's got California plates on it. This is pretty nice, pretty livable. I think if you wanted to go a little bit more aggressive, you could remove that larger resonator, but I'm not sure it's really necessary. Let's roll the windows down. this is really nice. Has a clean, tuned tone. It's kind of what we've always wanted with this car. Not everyone's going to like the idea of cutting into their factory exhaust, but in my opinion, this beats some of the aftermarket options, and it's such a easy and affordable mod. With the MRT kit, you can even do it in your driveway. Yeah, this sounds really good. I'm a fan. It's not obnoxious, it just makes this sound a little bit more special. That is definitely the press car M2 that we had a couple weeks ago. Nice. That was a great car. That was a lot of fun. Okay, so hopefully that gives you guys an idea of what this Resonator Delete sounds like. Pretty nice little mod. I think this is probably something that most Type R owners are going to want to do, especially because I feel like we kind of got a little shafted from the factory with exhaust sound, and this brings us right about to where we want this car with what the Type S sounds like. It's nice that this works with the factory system. There's no drone here. This is a really nice exhaust setup. So I'm very happy. Probably going to keep it like this and not really changing anything. Only other thing I want to do with this Type R basically is just get that Integra Type S damper module, but as long as I get that before winter and cold weather, I'm going to be a happy camper. Alright, that's going to be it for this one. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. We'll give you one more rev here. Cool. Stay tuned for some more videos on this car coming soon. We've got a track day at Grattan Raceway next week, and oh boy, I'm excited to take this back out to track. Negative 1.8 degrees of camber at the front, stock brakes, upgraded fluid. This thing's a champ on track. It does really, really well. It's a blast to drive. Really starting to love this car. It's just, every day I drive it, it grows on me a little bit more, and I'm so glad. Finally was able to get into a Type R. Really enjoying my time in this Type R. As a daily, as a track car, as a fun vehicle. Honda did a lot right with this car, but it just needs a couple little tweaks in my opinion to kind of increase that perfection. So another note too, you probably obviously heard it, but I've disabled my active sound control.